Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant. My name is Niels Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. Sometimes good initiatives grow out of strong, experienced people with a common spark for a topic. You have that a lot within EU funding. This podcast is a humble example. Now, one of my old regulars of the show, independent consultant Christina Achilleos, is a vibrant person. She, through her network, stumbled into a couple of other vibrant persons within the area of EU funding and training, all with a passion and care for the project managers as professionals and as persons that try to make all ends meet. Andreas Stefanidis, president of Academy of Entrepreneurship in Athens, and Alessandro Carbone, owner of the training consultancy company T-Hap, like Christina, have a background in supporting and training project managers. They decided to put their heads together and develop an annual 3-day networking, workshops and co-creation event, giving EU project managers a chance to come together and share and exchange on how they work. The Grant is always curious to hear of these kind of initiatives. So I invited them in to share the background of the initiative, how the event and initiative is structured, and the added value that it brings. Please enjoy. The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. Today I have 3 guests. It's probably the height of what I can manage to pull into the virtual podcast studio. And today we're going to talk about. It's going to be about. You have many initiatives out there that are working on EU funding and supporting and facilitating and so on. This is an example of this. Now, before we share with you what we're going to talk about today, I would like to welcome my 3 guests. Welcome, all 3 of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Niels.
Welcome in. And before we do anything else, let's just take it from the top. And always women's first. So, Christina, please.
Hello, Niels. Once more, thank you for having us on this special edition of this podcast. Christina Achilleos, representing InnoEUsphere, based in Larnaca, Cyprus. We are active in education and training through EU-funded actions, and it's a pleasure to be here today and talk about PM Agora.
Yeah. Alessandro, you're next up.
Thank you, Niels. Thank you to all listeners following us today. I'm Alessandro Carbone, the Senior EU Project Manager. So I guess we're going to talk about that later on. I am the Director of T-Hap Limited, a consulting company. We are offering training, project design, project implementation, evaluation of projects. And we offer this on an international level. We are based in Nicosia, but we offer our services all over Europe.
Thanks. And Andreas.
Thank you very much, Niels. It's an honor for all of us and for the community surrounding PM Agora, this podcast. Thank you for that. I am Andreas Stefanidis. I represent the non-profit organization Academy of Entrepreneurship, started back in 2007, specializing on EU project funding, especially on entrepreneurship skills training. And we're one of the co-founders of PM Agora to support the capacity building of EU project managers at EU level.
Thank you. Now,
Marie Latour, listener of The Ground since several years, so listen to The Ground.
I'm going to have a short fly-in on what PM Agora is and what we're going to talk about today. I don't know, Christina, do you want to pick that up?
Definitely, Niels. I would say that PM Agora is probably the only event on the European level at this point in time focusing completely on the capacity building and co-creation of European project managers. We are 100% differentiating from a solely networking event. So in that sense, we are bringing forward a 100% participatory approach where European project managers come together in a more structured and formal community to learn, co-create, of course, network, and create something meaningful for the future of our profession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's get back to that in a second. But it's your own initiative, so you're not funded from anywhere.
No, we are the three co-founders here together. This is an initiative which was 100% born on a very high synergistic mode, meaning that we are all equally representing this initiative, bringing our own experience and knowledge, years of experience, I would like to highlight that, within this industry. And we are doing that exactly on a self-funded mode to really help, like I said already, the future of our profession, because we are not just project managers. We are the souls behind all of these EU funded projects that are being approved and implemented on a such a large scale around EU.
Yeah, it's an important element, important subject. So thanks for picking up that torch. Now, let's just quickly move into the next block, because then we will share with the listeners, or you share with the listeners, the motivation and the background for the whole thing. So you already opened up that box a little bit, but can you share the background and motivation on to move into this?
Yeah, I can jump in. I think the reason why we were moved to organize, and this is already the second year actually we are doing it, is to pause a little bit in our professional life as project manager and devote some time for ourselves. I think among the different professions, project managers relating to EU fundings, we are the most, let's say, harassed, the most involved. There is very little time. There is time. We need to check calls. We need to write project. We need to implement the project, relaunch, finance, budget, etc., etc. And there is no time for ourselves. So we thought we need to stop, to pause and reflect and put our thoughts about our profession, not again doing things for the project delivery and implementation and design, but to do something for the well-being of our profession. And this is what has driven us to organize a 2-day gathering of European project managers so as to discuss, to exchange, to grow as professionals, and why not also as individuals.
And maybe you share a little bit with the listeners, the three of you, your sort of respective interest of motivation, each of you from your corner, to step into this.
Yes, 100%. I would say that my personal motivation, which really highly aligned with what Alessandro was doing in late 2023, and then brought us in a very good connection as well with Andreas, is the fact that Alessandro was already putting the first seeds of creating a structured form of a community of practice composed of European project managers. And me personally, I am super interested into, through this initiative, collecting all the voices of European project managers, especially on the challenges that we are facing, and so that we manage through a coordinated manner to reach, if possible, at some point, the decision-making, let's say, points centrally in Brussels, so that the decisions being made concern us with us, right in the dialogue being formed. So my personal motivation is this one, of course, supported by what Alessandro correctly said, having this valuable 2.5 days every year in the form, let's say, of this annual summit to meet with each other, talk, sit down in a relaxed setting, and exchange between us.
Thanks, Christina. Alessandro.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that for me, pausing, reflecting, and growing together is very important. It is a chance where we can reflect, discuss, dedicate time to our well-being, having some insight, learning something from each other, and not only technical aspects of project design and project implementation, but also professional dimension. Actually, if I may add, last year during the previous edition of the PM Agora, I have presented the research I have done on the well-being of EU project managers. And this confirmed that we really need space to learn more about our mental health aspects as professionals and what we can do, not only on an individual level, not only on a professional level, but also on an organizational level. So this confirms me that these 2 days, 2.5 days we devote to ourselves are absolutely necessary and need to be replicated and strengthened through years.
Yeah. So it's like Christina, you have your own independent consultancy company that works with training, and you probably see these things every day and the need for this. Yeah. Andreas, motivation. So why you step into this initiative together with Christina?
My motivation, and I will speak a little bit philosophically, is as you listen from Alessandro and Christina, all the good initiatives, Niels, they come from the real need. Mm-hmm. So the real need of PM Agora came automatically from the community of EU project managers, especially after the challenges that we faced during COVID period, and they continue actually. And apart from that, the real value of PM Agora, it is the community itself, because now the future ownership of PM Agora belongs to the members that they started last year, this year, and the years to come. Because those initiatives, they support those practitioners that actually they do what? They use their time the best way possible to optimize the taxpayer money of Europe for resolving challenges of Europe in all these aspects we know. Migration, circular economy, non-formal training, all the different pillars that EU project they fulfill through the years. And we try to give our best efforts, not just to reach the deliverables for each project, but to change the European societies and to connect them together. So we need, these practitioners, they need continuously capacity building. And that is the reason that we're here for PM Agora, to protect the proper implementation of the global sustainable goals, at least in Europe.
Yeah, very well. And also all three together with this experiences from different corners. You saw a need to start to build somewhere, at least because you have lots of initiatives throughout Europe, right? But they all have different corners, and you both have public support from NCPs, and you have some countries, they have more public free support through regional offices in Brussels or whatever, So, but there are, of course, a lot of need for dressing project managers up. So it's well thought and well done. Now, let's just move into the initiative in a nutshell and just try to paint the picture for the listeners. So what is it that you are trying to do here? So what is the core idea of the initiative?
I can start. The core initiative is, first of all, to gather with a different purpose than the other gatherings, okay? As it has already been mentioned, usually when EU project managers gather is because there is a call, there is a deadline, there are project ideas to be shared, there is networking to be done in order to build new consortia, new partnership, and submit new proposals, okay? We wanted to avoid this as a main purpose. We wanted to gather for the sake of gathering, for the sake of being together, for the sake of feeling as a unified body as professional. This is the first thing I would point out. And the second element is to reflect and discuss, to go into depth of our issues, of problems we might have, and look forward to the perspective, to the future development of our profession. Consider that EU programs are evolving. Actually, these days, the European Commission is approving the new budget for 28-34. So consider that here we are talking about our future engagement, our role in transforming EU policies into programs, into operational initiatives, which have to be always innovative, always sticking with the reality of the beneficiaries, of the population, of the local communities, of the market, and therefore we are always challenged. But we need time to study this, to reflect on what is ahead of us in order to be always well prepared, and also well prepared according to what are the mandates. Because whether we like it or not, we work delivering what somebody else is deciding, okay? It's not 100% our initiative, what we do, but we are sort of the operational leg of the European Union. And we need to keep all these pieces together, and only in a gathering like this one, and discussing and exchanging and confronting each other, this can happen.
So just to make it perfectly clear for the listeners, so what you are, so PM Agora, it's a networking. The tool is networking, and it's a concrete event, in-person event.
Absolutely, a networking where the networking is to grow as professional and not for functional and operational purposes. Yes, in this case, I agree.
And then you do workshops, or you at these events. Is that correctly understood? That you
Yes. Yeah. Yes, this is 100% true, Niels. We are very much focusing the structure of the entire event, like I told you in the beginning, on a very participatory approach, meaning that we structure the agenda on hands-on workshops. We have high qualified and expert practitioners delivering each of the sessions. Oftentimes, the practitioners stem from our industry, from the EU funding domain, but not limited to. So we make sure that we have a multi-level representation of expertise of trainers in this event. I wanted to add to what Alessandro said, and I don't think that anyone in this domain will disagree with me. Project managers, we are the engine room of every EU project, right? So at the same time, Niels, we are navigating policy changes. We have like a multi-stakeholder engagement that we need to handle and comply and present in EU projects. We also have this juggling of tasks that we need to do, ranging from grant writing to managing projects to delivering reports and developing also at the same time education, etc. So we don't really see like such a community initiative being present where all the voices come together. And like Alessandro said, to really sit down and discuss what can be in the future of European project managers in a way that we improve our daily lives, how we improve project management, and how we derive to more impactful European projects all together.
So if we just zoom in on the nutshell here, that's the approach, and so it's a networking, but it's focused on practical learning and community growth and sharing and exchanging. Yeah.
If I can add something, it's a continuous learning experience, PM Agora, and slowly will be evolved in a PM Agora Academy, because the knowledge that we circulate through the networking in our participating members is tremendous. and I have to emphasize, as you asked in the beginning, it's not only self-finance from us, that we are the co-founders, but also it's a self-finance initiatives from the participant as well, because they invest their time, their travel expenses, accommodation expenses, and everything to be there and collaborate, communicate, share their learning experiences. And that is very, very important in our challenges days.
To add to this, and I think that's important also to share and thank at the same time, we have a growing list of supporters, sponsors. Like, we are not, of course, asking for big amounts. We are just asking for some financial support from sponsors. Why? Because there are, of course, operational expenses that relate to facilitating a top event. And Niels, I really need to be like super appreciative of the growing list of organizations that are, supporting the event, are super enthusiastic with the aspiration and the impact that we are already creating through this initiative. And Andreas is right, like he said in the very beginning, the value of this event, it's community members. So everyone is a community member, and everyone is contributing into making a stronger ecosystem, a stronger industry, if we can say.
Mm-hmm. Very well.
My name is Merete Mikkelsen, and I think you should really listen to the grant to get new ideas, hear solutions for other people, and get going with your projects. Good luck.
All right, let's just move into the next block and talk a little bit more in detail what actually happens in your PM Agora event. So and how it works. So now in the rundown, this put a recap of 24, but maybe can you start to sort of fold out what happens during these events?
Actually, I think that it's a very good idea to give the floor to Andreas and Alessandro to share a bit more of what we accomplished together in the Athens edition in October 2024. And then I will resume with what's planned for 2025 as the hosts of this year's edition. I think that's going to create a nice continuation.
Andreas, yours the floor, since ACEP hosted last year's edition in Athens. Please start.
You keep passing the word to each other. Who's going to...
But it's,
Andreas.
The first event happens last October in Athens in collaboration and support of the municipality of Athens, almost under the Acropolis rock. I have to say the truth. We had more than 95 participants from the first year, and it was a very alive event. All of them were very happy during the workshops and the sessions, during the networking dinner. It was an amazing event, and that's why they wanted from the very beginning to participate in the next event this year that will happen the same dates in Larnaca, Cyprus. So as I said at the beginning, the real need and the real success of the PM Agora initiative starts from the need of its community, of its members.
And I would like to add that what we have done actually, starting from what we have not had last year, which is delivery of papers. Okay, the experts which were part of our PM Agora did not deliver any speech, any paper. What we had we had workshops. Some experts, especially related to project management and well-being of people, have guided us into workshops, into reflection activity, into insight and discussion activities. So into smaller groups, we had discussion panels with 4 or 5 competent people, but then we opened in the assembly question time. We had a quiz with a Kahoot questionnaire about technical information for EU project managers. We had a nice evening dinner where we enjoyed actually also the exchange of our experiences, but in a more informal way. And mainly we had, let's say, time for discussion. So no paper delivery, but experts who helped the assembly in small groups and in discussion group to reflect on the different topics.
Can you give some examples on these educational workshops? So and how they're structured, these workshops?
Okay, we had 3 workshops about 3 different aspects of well-being. We divided the assembly into 3 groups. So the 3 groups were composed more or less by 22 people. Okay, and for practically an hour, 2 psychologists and a corporate coach have, let's say, offered food for thought on which the participants have reacted, but on a very personal, I would even say, emotional level. So to discuss, to bring up, and the expert was giving feedback, was mirroring what we were experiencing, and finding ways to address the issues which have come up. And another,
So well-being as in handling the role of juggling as a project
handling
manager.
the role, handling time management, handling the right balance, or as we say today, the harmonization between private life and professional life. Yes, exactly this. Yes.
Good. Yep. Just to understand. Yeah. And so there you have the workshop. So in relation to capacity building, is that addressed directly the capacity building, or is it implicit in the workshops as they are sketched out?
Well, I would say 2 things, and I reflect to what has happened last year, because Christina is going to tell us what is going to happen this year, though the methodology is quite similar. Last year we had a panel and workshops on technical aspects about the project management. So the capacity building relates to specific knowledge and competencies as EU project managers. But don't forget that focusing on our mental health, on the ability to properly structure our professional life within our work environment, within our calendars, is a way to grow and to develop our capacity. If we are harassed, if we are overwhelmed by things to do, we are not performing qualitatively in our job. Okay, so taking care of how we feel, our emotion, our time, our mental health well-being is a way to grow even in the technical capacity of EU project managers.
So it's a holistic approach to
looking
at the role.
Absolutely.
So you would have how many themes did you have last year? So you had well-being, and then what?
We had there was an afternoon session. We had 3 workshops, parallel workshops. Okay, and then in the mornings we had twice one panel, which was an extended panel on EU project management technical aspects, so related to how to implement practically project writing and implementation activities, and also very much related to the policies of the program. And then we had a panel explicitly about well-being aspect. In this panel, we presented the research, and we had coaches and psychologists who were interacting with us. So in different moments, we involved the assembly also differently. I can mention other 2 things. We had a workshop led by a psychologist on well-being of people and of professionals. And in the first day, it was actually a warm-up or an ice-breaking activity, but it was very much focused on making a connection between our professional life and at the same time on our well-being, on our feeling good in what we do. So different. There is no one model. We have done small group workshops, plenary panel, a plenary workshop, and at the same time, a gaming activities. As I said, the ice breaking was a game, a very funny one, and we had also the Kahoot context for EU project managers.
Yeah. Who's the string holder of the event? Who for logistics, and Who's the
Well, there is no one-man show. Let's say there is always someone more in charge of the, let's say, the technical, the logistic aspects. There is someone more in charge for the communication, the marketing, the involvement of sponsor. One of us is maybe a little bit more concerned about the agenda, the contents. But then all three of us, we invite the experts. All three of us are concerned to find sponsors and supporters. There is no one-man show. Obviously, where the PM Agora is hosted for that year has a little bit more responsibility, I would say that, but we are working all three on the same level.
Okay, so you have educational workshops in parallel. You have plenary sessions with expert panels. Yeah.
Gaming activity, games, reflective games activities.
Plus some fun sessions.
Which sort? I'm just curious. Which sort of games?
As I said, the Kahoot game was the following. We have prepared 20 questions with multiple choice answer. The participant could answer, as Kahoot or using their mobile. The questions were related on objective knowledge regarding EU project management, EU programs, etc. And some of the questions were more on a practical experience level, but all had objective correct answers, and obviously the other three answers were false. We found at the end the winner. The winner was actually a young project manager from Slovenia, to whom we gave a reward, which was, by the way, a book written by a EU project manager in Germany on project management issues.
Mm-hmm. Julia. Is it
Julia Parola? Yes, Julia Parola.
Yes.
She was in the podcast presenting that book.
Yes. Okay. This was the book. Yeah.
Now I will put. Okay, dear listener, I don't remember the exact number of the episode. Naturally, I have a lot of episodes under my belt, but I will put a link to the podcast episode with Julia Parola presenting the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This was the gift for the winner.
Yeah. So you mentioned a Slovenian target audience here. So of course, project managers naturally. But how was the composition geographically? What people coming from all over Europe, or?
So based on our registrations, we had a representation of 14 European countries in Athens. Mm-hmm. And we are doing our best to increase the representation of the countries for Larnaca. I'm not going to say, Niels, that this is not a challenging task.
Of course it is.
Yes.
Of course it is.
But like I said, we are coming forward purely authentic. Mm. We are promoting a real value for our community. And I am sure that gradually more and more European project managers from around the EU will discover this initiative and will want to participate actively.
Yeah. So speaking of this, do you have any sort of, is there any sort of, you have the event, and that rolls, and then do you have anything to keep them together? In the network that they establish, do you do anything to make sure that people continue talking afterwards?
Yes. Okay. So for the time being, we have developed a WhatsApp group, which we call like the PM Agora community, and based on each person's approval, they keep in touch with us through WhatsApp, where we share, not only us actually, a lot of community members are sharing updates on this WhatsApp group. Then we make sure that we share any kind of updates through newsletters throughout the year. So the PM Agora event doesn't stop on the 3rd of October, which is the final day, which is hosted every year. Mm-hmm. So we make sure that we keep this community alive. And for the future, we are hoping that we can create a more lively, let's say, official platform where people can engage more effectively, but step by step, Niels.
Yeah, it's step by. You know what? It takes time to build things up, and I know exactly that. I've been doing my own initiative here for more than 3 years now. So this is just how it is.
If I can add, because there are other two elements I would quickly add. One is what actually brought Christina and me in contact, which is the already existing project managers community of practice on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. It is a group with, at this very moment, 444 members. And I would like to invite any project manager who is listening to this podcast to ask to be part of this group. The other thing, and this is already a spoiler, Christina will tell us more, during the upcoming PM Agora, we would like to reflect and work together. This is going to happen on the last day, to become a more corporate, a body of project managers to maybe in the next future to represent the category, the profile, the profession of EU project managers, possibly also in Brussels. Actually, already today I saw a post on LinkedIn saying, hey guys, they are discussing about the new budgets. We are the ones who are going to implement projects and innovation, but we don't have a voice in Brussels, okay? We should really become more corporate. And this is one thing which we are aiming as of this year to build. Mm-hmm. So consider that we have in mind to follow up. So it's not just a matter of social media to keep us in connection during the year, this for sure, but we would like really to become more institutionally represented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all initiatives needs to start somewhere. But if you see that things get more solid, and then indeed, representation is a good thing, especially in Brussels around these things. So actually, I don't know if there are other project EU project manager initiatives, like on a association level, but indeed, the fact that I don't know means that haven't worked with this for many years. So good thinking. I don't know if I offended. Is there anything else you wanna share? What happens at these events? Now we've been going through the formal program, or and then what about the social activities?
Yes, actually, Niels, I will briefly mention what happens in this year's edition in Larnaca,
by all means,
in October. And for sure, thank you for giving me this pass. I would also speak about the nice social activities that we have already planned. Mm-hmm. So a bit on what can our colleagues expect this year from PM Agora. October 2nd and 3rd, what we call in codes the conference days. We're not talking, however, of a typical conference. We are talking very much about participatory workshops. So we made sure to invite actually, like I said, highly expert practitioners from many institutions from around the EU. And we are covering the umbrellas again of well-being. This year, we are also focusing a lot on the use of AI in grant writing. A super important session that we are welcoming this year. We are having representatives from the PM2 Alliance. You know that the PM2 is the endorsed project management methodology of the European Commission. So for us, it's super important that they accepted our invitation, and they will be live with us in Larnaca, training us how to become certified. And I think that it's super important. And this is where real capacity building comes, Niels, like we are giving all the knowledge for someone, a European project manager of any level, junior, middle, or senior, to get all the knowledge and expertise of how to also become certified. Like Alessandro said, this year we are very much investing time and resources on how to reach the decision-making processes centrally in Brussels. This is why we are bringing an expert, a lobbyist, full-time lobbyist based in Brussels, he will explain to us, first of all, the legislative processes and how we can actually form a formal structure of European project managers actively being involved in all the decisions that concern us. We also have a guest speaker on presenting and explaining the core elements of strengthening stakeholder engagement and gender mainstreaming. We also think that it's a super important topic for a healthy and meaningful European cooperation. We also have a new addition this year, cultural partners who are working on a workshop explaining how the arts and culture can help us sustain projects after EU funding is being completed. More to it, we have a representative, high-level representative from the Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth here in Cyprus, talking to us about the future of work, upskilling and reskilling, looking more also into the vocational education and training, and more. So, like, there is a big breadth of thematics this year, and a lot of knowledge to be shared. So I can 100% urge our colleagues to register and gain value from that. But we don't stop there, of course. October 1st, in the afternoon, we have the Prelude signature, let's say, party. We have booked a sea view venue on the 6th floor, very close to the airport, so participants can have easy access. And there we will have local food, very nice cocktails with some surprise names this year. So be ready for that. We're going to have a lot of laughs, I'm sure about it. Nice views, and like Alessandro said before, our chance to wind down with our colleagues, have some wine, and really say to each other, how are you? I think that's super important. Not what kind of projects are we developing this year, but how are you? And another very interesting social activity this year, on the end of day one, conference days, so October 2nd in the afternoon, we have organized a very nice treasure hunt in the city. Larnaca is one of the most ancient cities of the world. So we will have a prize and a very nice treasure hunt, and let's see what our colleagues will do, how they will perform.
Well done. Is there anything else you want to add here on the event itself before we have a little bit of an exchange on the added value? So about project managers and so on. Do you
like to emphasize, Niels, the human aspect of PM Agora? We want the members to be a family, and that is very, very important. Not just a technical or a meeting without human aspect. So we want to know each other, to have real human connections between us, and we have that, and that's why we are very, very selective, and we like the community that is gathering from year to year, and they like it as well. We know that.
Yes, and that's exactly what we need to talk about now in this next block. So it's that's the importance of initiatives like this. So first and foremost, this is Mediterranean added value. I don't think it's you all emphasize it's very, very nice, the importance of the 360-degree approach to this role, a holistic approach to the role. So that's very, very nice. And this, so you have EU project management. Okay, we've been having EU projects for 30, 40 years, right? But the growing amount of projects every year, because of the growing amount of funding every year, it keeps rising, right? So you have a lot of people out there that the community gets bigger and bigger. But the challenges of the role is basically the same. But depending on which organization you are, the role have different corners, right? So you'll have the one that has to do everything, And then you have the ones that are lucky enough that they are a team, where some look at budget, some look at logistics and so on, and some look at writing proposals more in depth and so on. Now, can you share a little bit about your thoughts about this yourself, and in the sort of through the prism of the initiative that you make?
Well, I would like to start from what you mentioned, Niels, that the profile, the profession of EU project manager is changing now in the recent years, and is already different according to the context in which every project manager is working. I give you a few examples. There are project managers which are consultant and freelancers. There are project managers who take care of the EU project department of companies, maybe of bigger companies. And then there are project managers who work for NGOs, whose main business, main focus is, let's say, related to a special social need or a special type of beneficiary. So where the EU project and funding activities is sort of a complement, it's sort of an integration of the core business of an NGO. So there are different aspects and different grades and different shapes of project managers out there. And as you can imagine, being a project manager in Greece, in Cyprus, in Portugal is completely different than being a project manager in Sweden, in Denmark. So the idea is exactly to bring these professionals together and support them according to their specific need and according to the typology they represent in their working space, in their country, in their organizational environment. So yes, and this is one thing. And I would like to say that it's not, as you said, that the project manager has been always the same. Things have been increasingly complicated and challenging. Maybe what got better through the years is budgeting and financial report has been a little bit simplified throughout the last years, but the rest has become, first of all, highly competitive, highly demanding, okay? Application forms which have to be written staying within 45 pages, and you need to express the holistic, the grandiose, the innovative aspects of your project in 40 pages, where you have to detail everything, and that's not enough, okay? So it is challenging. And personally, when I started entering this world in the late 90s, on some instances, my job was much easier. Okay, now I have to write, to search, to summarize, to make sure I am addressing whatever item is demanded, knowing that I'm going to be evaluated on specific criteria, and the criteria have become very much demanding. And then we have some programs which are centralized, some programs which are managed on a national basis, which means I need to use a different language. I need to put myself in the shoes of the evaluator, who might be different if the national agency is the German one or if the national agency is the Spanish one. So our profession has become very complex. And I think this is also a reason why, to some extent, we are also suffering. And this is the reason why the PM Agora, in a way, wants to bring people together, support each other, complement each other, and maybe share good practices so that we can, I use a very heavy word, survive some days during our project implementation and project writing.
Yeah, indeed, that's true. And there's also, do you have the mix between proposal managers, proposal coordinators, and project managers that are implementing the projects, and the people that are doing both are, of course, under a massive pressure. But yeah, indeed. Then you have the difference in framework conditions for them, right? So if you're a private company, large private company, where you might even be a team, it's very different from an NGO, where there might
Or a research center or a university, or yes.
They might be totally reliant, the NGO, on getting the funding in. So there's a pressure there on getting that in. And then you have the private grants consultants that are reliant on the profit, on getting then is having that pressure in, also both in preparing the proposals, but also maybe taking work package participation in projects and so on. So indeed it's a many faceted role with many different corners where people can sit.
Mm-hmm.
You have schools, you have university, you have local authority, you have regional authorities. I mean, there is a spectrum of organization which rely on project managers, and these project managers have to adapt and learn whatsoever. This morning I was giving a consultation to a foundation of circus, you know, the circus with clowns and acrobats. I couldn't believe that I had to learn this aspect as well, though my competence is a transversal competence about writing and implementing. Yeah.
I would like to add, Niels, that when Europe makes a call, they care about European future. So they don't care about, let's say, from a specific EU project, what happens in Greece or in Italy or in Cyprus or in other European countries. They want the Europe to become better. And that is a real challenge for us because we have different mindset, different mentalities, different level of economies and understanding. So this is very crucial. Through PM Agora, we exchange all these challenges and opportunities, and we can improve how Europe can become better with all the challenges that all of us, we know from all the aspects surrounding Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you've been starting shaping this initiative, did you scan or did you screen for what is actually out there already, or did you make a gaps analysis? Did you sort of look, so what is actually missing here?
Yes, actually, I think that was our starting point, and it was, and it still is, our real experience. Like 100%, we are participating and we are active supporters of other networking initiatives happening yearly. We are there. You can confirm with both Andreas and Alessandro. We are there, but still there was something missing. And I think that the element of co-creation, the element of belonging to a community, the element of learning beyond preparing a grant application or how to manage a project, okay? So we 100% saw that there is a big gap on investing into training on these areas, all of these areas that we have previously discussed about. So this is what we are working on, this is what we are growing, and I am sure that every edition that is yet to come of PM Agora will become stronger and more forward-looking. I am 100% confident about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, one of the things that you outlined or that you shared with us is that you are engaging with stakeholders. So you're having sponsors, and you have so the people that you have in as leading the sessions. Now, that is my best guess is that it has a big what do you say? It's not necessarily okay. You have to survive with this. Yeah, you need to have participants coming. But my best guess is that it's not only about getting huge sponsorships. I think you also mentioned it, Christina, that it's more building a group of important organizations that supports and mirrors itself in what you want to do.
Yeah. I think Alessandro said before that our profession calls for a multi-stakeholder engagement and participation. One. Second, the European Commission, through the various calls that are being released by all relevant agencies, either we're talking about centralized or decentralized actions, are calling for this synergistic mode, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, 100%, we are following the same approach. And this is why we are trying to, like I said, to create a community, to mark a stronger ecosystem through the participation and support of various profiles. At the same time, by involving all of these different stakeholders, I feel like we are giving a voice to the people that make up this huge community. We are not a small community. We might be still niche for the general public. I think still we haven't reached the point to solve this mystery. Still we get asked, what do you really do as a European project manager? But still there are thousands of us, right? Mm-hmm. So like I said, gaining access and having the support of these organizations is super important for the entire community, not only us as co-founders of this initiative.
I would say that the only equivalent I can think of, it's the work that Yame is doing, but that's public. That's often related to universities, research managers, and it's the same call for, like, for having respect around. That's research managers, sitting in university research teams. But this is the same role as just in all the other organizations, I would say. There is a need for recognition, and there's a need for exchange. This is what everybody says that I talk to on this podcast that has this role, that there is a big need for recognition and exchange. Recognition from managers and the organizations and community around them, what they do as a role, and then exchange on how do you handle this? How do you juggle? How do you handle 3 different proposals in a row? How do you implement this specific part of a project when we reach this? I had this crappy issue when we carried out the kickoff, whatever. It's all these things, because it's often a very lonely role to being a project manager. It's often a very lonely role. You might talk to a lot of people when you develop a proposal, but it's still you yourself, if that takes do the calls, that sit alone at night to develop and to put the text together. You sit alone when you try to coordinate the implementation and carry it out. You talk to people, yes, but it's still you walk a lot of miles alone in this.
Yeah, I would like to add to what Christina said about stakeholders and sponsor, an aspect which I would call an ethical and a political aspect, which the organizer of the PM Agora have strongly valued already last year and this year as well, which is the following. We have decided to have a low-cost access to our initiative. Okay, compared to any networking meeting for project manager, our fees are very low, because we know that people have to come also to the venue, have to spend a couple of nights, which is a cost. And the reason is the following, because if we become an elite event, only companies which can afford to send their project manager will attend, which means that some of the organization and some of the project managers are never going to be represented and participating in this type of event, which ethically is one thing, but also politically it means that specific social, and I say social because this might be mostly the case, social organizations are never represented in a world of project management which deals with the policy implementation of the European Union. When we talk about innovation, everybody, even the smallest NGO, should have a voice, a word in developing innovative ideas in order to implement the project. Now, even the choice to have a very possibly low fee to organize this PM Agora enables us to have to give access to everybody to our event. In order to do that, since it's self-financed, we need sponsor, and therefore the stakeholder and the sponsor not only represent the world where the European fundings are going to be allocated, but also can support us in making sure that everybody can be represented where the professionals working on EU fundings are going to gather.
Mhm. Well done. And I would encourage you to find a way for bind them after so in between the events, because the community part of it is something that is really something that, so they don't feel so alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's also a matter of knowledge sharing on the go. Yeah, not just a couple of days in October, but that you share with someone who understands the struggle and knows in which framework to exchange on. So.
Mm-hmm.
We are moving towards the end, my dear friends. Unless you have anything else you want to share in this blog, then we'll move on to the reflections, vision, future vision, and so on. So you sort of released a little bit of your vision on this, but where would you like this to go in the best of all worlds?
Well, I would like this to be, first of all, a community, a stronger, even stronger community than what it is already. Secondly, I would think of this event as an annual routine, so to say. Let's meet, because, project managers are spread all over Europe. But if we know that there is every year an event which has the scope to gather us, this should be considered like going on holidays or going to the village because we know we will meet the friends we have met last year. This is what I would like to think of, an annual ritual, I would even say, for project managers, obviously with always different contexts, with different approaches, etc., but an annual gathering which should become part of our calendar, of our regular calendar. And as you mentioned actually before, that it's not a matter of what happens once a year, but it's a matter of what happens also during the year. So connection, sharing good practices, sharing of ideas, then yes, networking for projects, exchange about deadlines, discussion about new policies with which the EU is implementing. This should become what the PM Agora has it.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to say that a part of the school that will be evolving of project managers, I want to see an improvement of the ESGs of Europe, because the PM Agora project manager will utilize all their knowledge, collective efforts to run the project in a much better way for the benefit of all. And that is an exchange through the learning experiences that PM Agora will offer to them.
And if I also may share my vision, I'm not going to differentiate a lot from my colleagues. I think we all see this initiative being transformed into an annual summit, let's say. What I would like to see is maintaining our DNA, which is authenticity, connection, and open dialogue. Hence our name, PM Agora. We named it after ancient Athens, the point of connection and the meeting of the first edition of PM Agora. Mm-hmm. And 100% seeing this initiative becoming slowly a European point of influence. I think we explained very well of what kind of influence we are aiming to see. So I'm hoping that also with this nice touch of creativity and fun, I wanna emphasize that, because we are also having very nice moments together, super fun. We continue to make a difference in this world of EU funding.
Yeah. Now, I think it's congratulations. No, I think it's you did well, and I think you deserve any applaud from the listeners out there. So I do hope that based on what you've been sharing here, that some of my listeners will engage with you, and maybe some will even go to Cyprus for your event in October. It's
Amazing.
no, but all these things should be supported because there's so much. There's so much. Everybody's looking for answers in this. Within this, everybody is trying to find a way through, and you do have support out there, and you do have, but it's also sometimes very difficult as an individual to understand where to go and how to get help, or which communities to connect to, or where to get help. So it's I'm very happy to see that you're doing this, and I hope that it will that it's not gonna fold, that you'll be able to continue this, so to make it fly. The Grand. On that note, toughest challenge, my last block that I have in all episodes now, short talk about, so what is the toughest challenge in getting this initiative to fly? So how's the struggle? So one thing is, of course, participants. So if you're not allowed to say to get participants, so can you, what's your
Yes.
reflection on that?
Yeah. I want to start by saying that I think our biggest challenge is to bring forward the value and the impact that we are trying to create, and how far we are from typical networking events happening all these years on the European ground. Okay. So like I told you before, when people start realizing the value of this community, the more people will start to register and participate actively. Okay, so I think that's a big challenge we are fighting through like daily, and we are trying to also establish our brand, PM Agora. And of course, it takes time. We know that. But at the same time, we're very persistent. We are dedicated. We are a big team. I want to emphasize that. So we have our team members from all three organizations working consistently on this. And daily, we are, making new people become familiar with PM Agora.
Thanks. Alessandro, challenges?
I would add one thing which we learned by experience. Despite we are able now in our second edition to have some, let's say, institutional representatives, inviting people from the Commission, from the programs of the EU, from the executive agencies, it's always challenging. We have faced several no's. No, I cannot come because I should not, with my presence, quote unquote, sponsor, support one initiative which might cut out other similar initiatives. So there is a sort of neutrality on behalf of the European institution and all the representatives of the different level of institutions which do not join our event. Understandably, to one hand, but it would be very, very useful if the EU would be represented, because they could bring their point of perspective, which we might not have. And for us, it would be very helpful to understand what's going on the other side, why the agencies, why the Commission, why the programs are behaving in such a way. Sometimes this is unknown to us, but this is the real challenge. As you said, we are not able to have these people freely joining our event and openly speaking, because they represent high level of institution and they cannot take part, they cannot triangulate with any initiative.
This podcast has almost reached 200 episodes without being able to drag in one European Commission official. So it's I'm mirroring exactly the same challenge here. They can edit whatever they want to do. They can remove anything. No, we're not allowed. No, Andreas, Hit me with your challenge.
Non-profit organization or small organization, the challenge is the funding. So as Alessandro said before, it is a very low cost for the participant. And since we have a lot of listeners, we have very small packages for sponsors as well. So if they would like to support those messages to disseminate at the EU level, we can have also and accept sponsors with very reasonable prices, comparing with other events that happen in Europe. So as you can see, communicating all the aspects at EU level in the right target groups is not an easy task.
Yeah. Thanks. It's been a pleasure to have you in. Now I'm just going to land the plane as I always do before we say goodbye to dear listeners. So dear listeners, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, this interesting conversation. Now, if you want to listen to more episodes on EU R&D funding, I have a good news for you, especially if this is the first episode you're listening to, because you have more than 180 episodes that you can go and binge listening to if you want. So do go to thegrant.eu, and there you'll find the full list of episodes. I have more than 185 at this stage. It should be. Now, it's categorized in there. You can find under the coordinator, under funding schemes, under proposal writing, under project implementation, and so on. So you go in and see which category suits you, and start to listen. And while you're there and thinking, "Wow, what a great initiative! What a great podcast!" then go to the bottom of each website. You'll find an online form to subscribe to my email list, and this is the way to support a humble independent podcaster like myself. Finally, connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where the fun happens. That's where the flow is. Connect with Niels to the Winter. You'll find me. I'm the only one in the world with this name. And you will also, I recommend you to go and like the Grant page. So everything is shared in there. I try to build a community naturally. So thanks in advance for that, my dear listener. Christina, Alessandro, Andreas, thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me for this nice conversation.
Thank you, Niels.
And good luck in October.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Now let's say goodbye to dear listeners. Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Grant. All the Grant episodes have their own site on the Grant website. You'll find the link to the episode site where you listen to your podcast. On the site for this episode, you'll find a link to all my guest LinkedIn sites and a link to their respective organizations. Further, there is of course a link to the PM Agora initiative. Next week, there's a very nice conversation with independent grants consultant Marie Poteau on the life as a proposal writer. I actually promised you this last week, but I realized that I promised to release this episode first, so Marie is up next, and you can indeed look forward to that.